Well, my only thinking is TCU, and worry about the others when we come to them. So I'm just worried about how we're prepared for this coming ball game, and I think we're making progress. I've said that before. I've said it after the ball game. I think we're improving. We made some improvement in that ball game. There's a lot of things that still have to get corrected going into the TCU ball game, and we all know the quality of TCU's football team, players and coaches as well down there. So how well prepared we are today is what's important to me, and I'll know that after we practice.
Coach, TCU typically under Gary Patterson has been known for defense, but this year they've had quite an offensive turnaround. Just from your perspective, what do you think is the main reason why they're firing on all cylinders in that area?
Well, I think probably a lot of things. I think he altered the system, to change to, the type of offense that they have right now. I think it fit their quarterback extremely well. He's been exceptional throughout the course of the season. Struggled a little bit last week, but prior to that, he had somewhere in the vicinity of 850, 900 yards total offense in the previous two games prior to the last one, which is kind of reminiscent of the quarterback from the University of Texas coming in. His previous two games, he'd had 800 yards, I think, in pass offense or total offense, something like that. But the system fits Boykin. He's a very gifted athlete. He can run the ball. They can run the option with it and do the quarterback run stuff. And he's throwing the ball extremely well. And he can throw the ball downfield well. It's not just the short stuff. So I think that's a major element, and in the great improvement that they've made, and the progress and the success that they've had this year. And we all know, as you indicated, that they're always going to be a good physical defensive football team, and there's a great deal of experience there. They have 9 returning starters on their defense, and nine of the defensive players are upperclassmen. And they're very sound with their special teams. They don't get themselves beat on special teams either.
Terrell Klingscales has had more game reps the last 2 weeks. Can you just evaluate his progress and just how strong that tackle position is now that they're really 4 deep with Britz and Valentino and Will Geary?
Well, I think he's done what we've asked in regards to embracing what his responsibilities are in all facets. And so consequently on the practice field, he's gotten more opportunities, and he's taken advantage of them. He's improved during that period of time. So as he gets better and better, then playing time will be increased.
Just overall position, you're really 4 deep now with all those other guys.
Well, 2 deep by, 2 positions, and we're 2 deep. Maybe 2.5. We've got some other youngsters that I think we feel are capable, that could invest themselves there. But it is good to have that kind of depth, yes.
Coach, back to TCU's offense, how difficult is it for a program to install a new offense like they have and kind of just slide right into it? They seem to like they've been running it for years. And also, is there a comparison to anyone else in the conference in the diversity of their offense and what they do?
Well, first of all, they don't do a substantial number of things. I mean, it's not extremely broad-based, and it doesn't mean they can't do a lot of things. They can, but my guess is, and that's strictly a guess, that they invest the vast majority of their preparation time in a few plays that are very basic to that offense in the running game and in the passing game, and have become very good at those things. Then they have some gadgets that go along with it that that kind of depends on whether you get fooled or not.
Coach, there's like a whole page of notes here just on Boykin and his accomplishments so far, and you go back a couple of years, and would you consider this one of the bigger turnarounds by a Big 12 quarterback that you can recall from one year to the next in just his production? And
Well, probably so in regards to the production. Now, I've never felt that he was anything other than an excellent talent. I mean, I always felt that. But they were playing within a system, at that particular point in time, which was good for, and they did it the right way. I mean, they, at least I thought that's the way I viewed it, is that it was well coordinated with the rest of their program, with the defense, so to speak, and it was beneficial to the defense. But they've obviously expanded that, and so I think his numbers, yes, are obviously far greater, but I think he's, I always thought he was a good talent.
I figure you're probably privy to the same stuff that we are looking at right now. Any numbers in particular, what particular statistic jumps out to you as maybe most impressive, what he's been able to do?
Well, as I indicated, I think he's got nearly 900 in the not this West Virginia game. I mean, there were situations there, but in the previous two ball games, he had nearly 900 yards of total offense, and collectively in those two games, him alone. So that probably stands out as much as anything.
Coach, how would you assess Jake Waters' decision making up to this point, and I guess in turn, how vital is that to continue against an active defense like TCU?
Well, it's extremely important, regardless of who you happen to play against, and certainly, defense is gifted and strong and knowledgeable about what they do as TCU's. It just goes without saying. I think that it's vital, that whoever is our quarterback at any time it makes good decisions. I think that's something we've always said. When we talk about quarterbacks and what their capabilities are, the first thing we talk about is their decision-making process, and how well they can manage, the system itself. And he's done well. He feels more and more comfortable with it all the time. So, that's not taking anything for granted. Every day is a new day. But I'm pleased with the progress he's made in that direction.
What's the best part about him? Is it the fact that he kind of keeps it simple and is able to make just kind of that easy, simple play, the right play, as opposed to maybe pushing the envelope a little bit?
Well, no, I wouldn't necessarily agree with it, with that statement. I don't think the easiest choice is not always the best choice, but it's just a matter of making the right choice, I guess. Let me put it that way. And sometimes that's an easy choice to make, and sometimes it's not. But I think he's invested in making the right decisions and the right choice, however complex or uncomplex it might be.
Coach, the team started the year -2 in turnover margin, now +6. Can you talk about that improvement and how that improvement's come about?
Well, I think not turning the ball over, obviously, and gaining some turnovers on the other side. I think we have been reasonably productive not turning the ball over, but we had not created a substantial number of turnovers, and I think that has elevated a little bit, and we've continued to be reasonably possessive of the ball. Now we had the charged interception that Joe threw the other night, which really, and when you boil the water out of it, really wasn't his responsibility, but nevertheless, he still threw it and got credit for it. And Jake had one and then got hit, and that was a bad throw on his part. And he realizes that wasn't wasn't the decision. He just made a bad throw. So.
And TCU's 3 close games this year. They had 6 turnovers and 8 penalties per game. How do you see penalties and turnovers being a factor on Saturday?
Well, I think, I believe that turnovers and penalties are a major factor in any ball game, that you play. And if indeed these are two somewhat evenly balanced teams, then it'd be very critical. We always go into a ball game feeling that's one of the major factors in determining how well you play and the outcome of a game.
Yeah, Coach, for Morgan, we saw the key interceptions against Texas Tech and Oklahoma, and Coach Gundy said after the game that they were trying to keep the ball from Tyler, and of course he takes the kickback for the touchdown. Can you assess his development and his confidence with the experience he's gotten this year?
Tyler?
With Morgan, sorry.
Oh, Morgan, okay. So I thought, yeah, he again, I hate to be so redundant, but it's factual. He has just made improvement day in and day out. I mean, he works at it. He's a bright young fellow. He picks things up well. He understands what his deficiencies have been. He works towards overcoming what those might be. But just works at it, and the more and more repetition that you get doing something that you're invested in trying to improve upon, you're probably going to get better.
Would you say it was the football IQ or maybe his just impressive athleticism that stuck out to you most or right away, and maybe what? Yeah. So.
Well, I think the first thing, going back when he first came, if that's what you're alluding to, you don't know as much as you'd like to know about the individual, as a person, but you learn as you go. So the first impression is going to be the athletic capabilities, and really it's in his ability to run, I think, was certainly one of the first and foremost things that stood out. But since that time, I've become impressed with the kind of person he is and his investment in trying to do well and trying to do right.
Coach, you guys will be breaking ground on the new veneer complex later this month. Can you talk about the importance of maybe the funds and everything of the ices, Carl and Mary Ice?
They're, regardless of what their investment would be in this, they're both wonderful people, good friends. Enjoy them a great deal. Very gracious of them to invest themselves. I mean, there's a lot of people that have made a substantial investment in moving forward with this project, and they certainly wanted to take a lead in it, and I admire them for that. But like I said, if they hadn't given a penny, they would still be dear friends, just because of the quality of character and people that they are. Awful good people.
Coach, I got another one on Morgan. He plays one of those positions you talk about where there's a lot of attention on it. When the ball comes his way, either he's the hero or the GOAT sometimes. Just wondering from your perspective, how do you think what do you think it is about him that's allowed him to handle that and kind of have a short memory when things don't go well for him?
Well, probably two things. I think one, he's a pretty even-keeled young guy. You don't see Morgan, get highly upset about anything. You don't see him get overjoyed about anything. He just keeps a rather normal pace about himself. And I think the other, he's a very faith-based oriented young guy, and he depends upon that as well to give him guidance and direction. And so I think those two things coupled together might be, the answer. Probably be a better served answering or asking him, I would guess.
All right, I'll try that.
Coach, a lot of talk today has been about Boykin, but with Jake, how have you kind of seen his progression over the last few years and kind of emerge as one of the better quarterbacks in the Big 12?
Yeah. Well, and we've addressed that in here numerous occasions. I think the experience, Jake is one of those guys, first of all, he's a splendid person, great young man. He's very dedicated to what he does. He's, always trying to do it the right way and the best way, and always trying to improve. Now, those things being said, when you start out, when he came in last year, it was his first year here, so he didn't have the experience of being invested in our system. And so it took some learning, and he's a bright young guy, and he learns quickly. But you have to experience what you learn as well. And I think I've said that numerous times here as well. I think he he's just gotten better and better and better. And when you talk, with Jake, he will tell you that, and has made that quote, I'm sure, that he feels more and more comfortable all the time with, his presence on the field because of the experience that he's had. I don't know what the number is, but he started, I don't know, 18, 20 games, something like that. This time maybe 21. I don't have the count with me, but and when you're, like I was saying before, when you invest yourself in trying to be as good as you can be and make that improvement, and you do it over an extended period of time, you're probably going to have pretty good results from it. And I think that's what's happened with him.
He's had quite a few big moments already. You go back to last year's bowl game, then this win against Oklahoma this year. How much do you trust him as your quarterback in the big moment as you head into a stretch like this and against TCU?
Well, I trust Jake, explicitly, and I trust a lot of young guys most of the young guys in our program. The significant thing is that it's not a matter of saying, okay, he's done it, so he'll do it again. It's a day-by-day process and week-by-week process, and I'd be the last one, and I encourage Jake to be the last one to take for granted that, because he has had good performances, that'll happen again. So you got to do something about it. You got to prepare, for the one that's coming, and he'll do that.
Coach, I know you don't buy into the hoopla and the rankings and all that, but knowing that the stakes of this game are starting to get a little higher as the season progresses, are these the type of games that you kind of envisioned, when you took over the program and came back? And, what's it like to coach in a game of this magnitude?
Well, for me, it doesn't, really change. I mean, as we say all the time, the next one is the most significant, and I tend to, follow that line of thinking. So I don't, the preparation isn't any different. The approach to it isn't any different. Now, I'm not naive to the fact that young people read, what's available out there and where they are in the rankings, et cetera, and, all the hoopla around the playoffs and all that. I understand that that they're going to do that. I can't prevent that. Don't really want to. But, it's how you handle it. And, it's going to be how they handle it. I'm the same regardless, of who it happens to be or what the circumstances are behind it.
Is there a certain excitement surrounding it, though? Maybe a slighter, bigger buzz as kind of the season hits that home stretch?
Well, I think just because of, the exterior presence, of what the implications are of the ball game, that, for some makes it, monumental, so to speak. Monumental is not the right word because it's not monumental, but, it's, what is it, a big game, I guess, is that what you'd say? But, again, we just try to do it step at a time.
Coach, can you talk about Glenn's just continued improvement, and then maybe, if luxury, maybe not the right word, but what's it like having a player at his position who's also so effective in the passing game, running routes, catching deep balls, things like that?
Well, you'd like to have someone who has a broad base of talent at all of the positions that you have, and whether it's a tight end or a running back. I mean, I could say the same thing about offensive linemen, but they're not going to be pass receivers. But, every position has to have, I say has to have, you'd like to have a multitude of diversity and capabilities, in all aspects of the game. Glenn is, possesses some athletic capabilities that would allow him to do that. Now the important thing for him is, to continue to grow and to keep getting better. I mean, he's got, he's done some good things, got a long ways to go. A young pup, and but he works at it, and, hopefully he'll get there. I think he will.
Coach, TCU's offense this season is the most improved in points and yards this season. Can you talk about the difference that's been made with Cumbie and Meacham as new coordinators?
Well, I think they've, obviously they've done an extremely nice job. There's a number of things. They lead the conference in virtually all, not all, but almost all the offensive categories, extremely high in the nation. The output has been really, as you indicated, so much different from previous years. And the production has been beneficial to the entirety of the program. Gary recognizes that. And I think, both of them together and their entire offensive staff, they've done a very nice job.
DeCorey Johnson's sort of been in and out with, I know he's been nicked up, but how beneficial is it to have him back with your defense, and what is it he brings maybe that some of the other guys at that position don't?
Well, I think, he and Will play, virtually the same position, and I think, both of them have been, sound in what they do. DeCorey, runs pretty well, a little quicker, I guess, than Will, and that probably, assists us a little bit with the, wide open offenses that you see.
And also, Elijah Lee mentioned that he's working some now, maybe at the other linebacker positions too. Do you envision him maybe at some time sliding into one of those other positions?
Yeah. It's kind of the way we structure our depth, so that it's kind of like offensive linemen. We have offensive linemen that play numerous positions, and because of our depth at the linebacker position, we have to do exactly the same thing. So, there's all of them have the capacity to line up for at least 2 out of the 3 positions. Some of them can play all 3.
But do you see maybe his? I know he's been primarily a pass rusher. I guess what I'm saying is, do you envision him being able to transition to more of an every down type guy in the future?
Well, at some point in time in his career, I would hope that would be the case. Yeah.
Coach, you're kind of in a unique situation. This past week, you get the fresh game tape of TCU, and they're playing against West Virginia on the cut-ups, and you're watching TCU, and on the other end is West Virginia. What is going on in that mind of yours when you're breaking down tape and you see those two fine teams playing against each other and knowing that they're both on the horizon for you? Because I think that's kind of a unique situation there.
Well, I try to put that phase of it, on the back burner. I don't, and I have to, address myself, with that, because if I get distracted with one side of the ball, that we're not playing that week, then I'm not doing justice to, our preparation this week. But you do see things, and you record notes, as you go through it. But 95% of my focus is on the preparation that we're about to embark upon.
If I could also ask, in August, Ryan Mueller told a story about out here in the summer regimen. They called it a marathon, but they would run individual sprints, and each sprint was timed, and each sprint represented a week. And if you made that time, then you won that particular week. And he talked about just the battle and doing that, the stamina and perseverance there. Just knowing that story, what maybe did that say about the mentality of this team coming up into the season, and really what it meant to them?
Well, I would like to believe that that they truly understand the value of all aspects of the program, and it's not just on the field football, and it encompasses the weight room work and the conditioning work and other things that go on in their life, and that they're invested in that and realize the value of it. And I think as it translated to what you are, the period of time you're referencing, that's the out-of-season program with Coach Dawson, and he does a tremendous job with all of our young people, and it's demanding. It's not an easy program, and they responded well. And I think that my guess is that they responded well because they wanted to do well. They wanted to succeed, and they knew that that was part of the foundation for what lies ahead.
Coach, how would you describe the back end of this TCU defense with, Carter and Hatchett and Kevin White and just kind of the secondary in general?
I just think it fits with with what they're doing. I mean, their front seven is extremely talented, physical, fast, very good, and I don't think the back end is any different. I just think it's a collective group of experienced, as I said before, athletic, good change of direction, speed, and the physicality to play the game well.
Do you see what are the challenges with facing kind of like the ball hawks like a Sam Carter?
Well, they lead the nation in turnovers, and it's not just the interceptions. I mean, they're a very good team because of the experience that they have. They're a very good team at being able to create turnovers and create fumbles, and that goes back into what the first question was in regards to eliminating penalties and turnovers, and that's the onus is on us to be able to do that.
Coach, I know you're focused on TCU here, but I want your thoughts on kind of the challenging nature of the schedule you've been handed this year by chance and the whims of a computer programming your games. Oklahoma, TCU, West Virginia, Baylor, all on the road, all sharing the top half of this conference with you. Have you ever had a schedule quite like this one where you're asked to have so many tough road games?
Probably not. I mean, I haven't thought about it, Fitz, but one doesn't come to mind.
Is it really going to prove the mettle of this team to walk that gauntlet through this course of the season?
Well, I think it certainly is a challenge. I don't think there's any doubt about that. And how we respond to it, I think, will be, will give us some indication. I think we're a good football team. Not as good as we could be and should be, perhaps, but I think we're a good football team, and I don't think that'll. I think that'll exist. Now it's a matter of how good and how successful this good football team is, and the schedule ahead makes that rather complex, surely.